Nitro 139, May 11th, 1998. The Superior Show this week.
Oh, yeah.
As we shall find.
Oh no. By the way, someone I think mentioned this on the board. Like the first part of the show was absolutely hideous video quality. I think someone said they took the YouTube version because maybe the master tape was missing the first quarter of the show. I noticed it immediately. It was absolutely terrible. And then it got better.
Me and Gene called Bret Hart out for a promo. He said, this Sunday on pay-per-view, Slamboree, I believe, it will be Bret Hart versus Randy Savage for the first time ever. Bullshit. I was at a Saturday night's main event. It was on TV. Bret Hart versus Randy Savage. It led to the formation of the Mega Powers. It was kind of a big deal. So Bret runs down Savage for a while.
Called him a big chicken.
He did say Savage was a chicken who had fled to WCW to avoid Bret, but now Bret's there too. And he's going to prove he's as great as he said he was.
I like this promo. I thought this was a good promo, everybody. Because this show was better.
Wait a second.
We're just getting going.
Have you already forgotten your stance?
Oh, this show was horrible.
Have you been drinking?
I forgot my argument.
You did.
We'll get going here. Actually, I'll tell you what the problem really was. The problem was when this show started, I was certain that Nitro was the worst show. But you did such a goddamn good job convincing me that Raw was worse.
Oh, no. I did nothing. I just let Raw be Raw.
Going into it here, I'm thinking that you may be right. But the more I remember Nitro, it's like, it's impossible. I think at worst, it's a wash. But this was a good promo, I won't lie.
Barry Horowitz versus Disco Inferno.
Good match.
We can add Barry Horowitz
for me here
to the list of wrestlers who did a skull-crushing finale better than Miz.
Yeah,
I think it's everyone else I see do it.
Well, the difference is, for him, it was just a move.
Yeah.
He just did a move and moved on. At least everyone else used it for a finish.
Well, for Barry, it's a move. For Miz, it's a struggle. And he usually fails.
Horowitz reminded me of Ty Dillinger.
Actually, yeah. Totally. I think about it. They had a fun 2-minute match, and Miz... Oh, also Barry Horowitz, by the way. He did the reverse facelock backbreaker that became one of Christian's signature moves.
Yep.
Here, before Christian's even debuted. Disco won in 2 minutes with a swinging neck breaker.
Hey, did you guys notice that Disco worked a perfectly straight match?
It's true.
Good wrestling, good match. Just want to throw that out there. No comedy.
It was great.
Every week.
Had a fun 2-minute match.
And he keeps having to change his finisher. This week it's the neck breaker.
That's true. Randy Savage came out for a promo.
Also a good promo.
From the point his music started, first it took him more than a minute just to show up on stage. Then it took him another minute after that to get to the ring. 2.5 minutes went by where we were just listening to the theme song, and then the theme song ended. It ran out, and he still wasn't ready to talk yet.
See? Horrible show. What'd I tell you?
Well, it was a bad show. So Savage runs down Bret, challenges Hulk Hogan, calls him, quote, a bald-headed reject from the glue factory prima donna. Said Hogan liked to dangle carrots out there, so he's going to take that carrot and turn it into a cactus and shove it up his ass. What?
I don't know. All I know is that I was looking forward to Bret versus Randy at Slamboree. That sounded like a good match. Mm-hmm. But I got to tell you something. Randy Savage came out here in 1998 and challenged Hulk Hogan for the main event.
Oh, yeah.
I was over it already. I don't need to see these guys wrestling each other again. I'm sick of it. This is where I started to turn on the show. I was like, that's your main event. You're in the middle of a wrestling war and you're doing this match again. Who could possibly care?
Kidman versus Juventud Guerrera.
Good match.
So you know how you can't powerbomb Kidman because he will always turn into a facebuster and hit you with it?
Right.
It turns out it goes both ways. And when Kidman tries to powerbomb you, you will also turn into a facebuster. Now, the funny thing is, when you turn into a facebuster and you drop him on his face, somehow it still hurts you, and he pops up and he's totally fine. I had to rewind and watch this like 3 times to make sure I grasped what really happened. But yes, Kidman tried to powerbomb, Hoovy turned into a facebuster, Hoovy sold the facebuster that he hit, and Kidman, who took the facebuster, popped right up.
You know what's amazing is Kidman works as an agent for WWE. No one has been given that spot. That was his trademark.
That's true.
You would think he would pass it on to the new generation at WWE. Wrong.
Saving it for his comeback.
You know he may be.
So Kidman kicked out of a Michinoku driver. He held on to the ref so Reese could come in and plant Hoovy with a tree slam. And Kidman hit a shooting star press for the win.
Hoovy just spiked him with this Michinoku driver. It was brutal.
Let's talk about the big issue here. Reese. Why do they always give these big stiffs this stupid tree slam?
It's easy to do. You can't screw it up. I'm just saying. That's why they give it to him.
Ryan just looked at Craig the way a small man who takes choke slams looks at a big man who
Exactly. Do you know how hard it is to take this fucking bump? No one ever puts you down right. You always land on your ass or you land on your head. The big guys can never drop the little guys right on this move. Yeah, it's really fun if you're the big guy, you lift the guy up and you just fucking throw him. But you can't take your own bump on this move. Poor Hoovy just fucking... He hits his ass, and then he hits his head. He's practically dead. And then Reese carries him away, probably legitimately to a medical facility. I hate this move.
What I was saying is you give somebody that move because there's nothing to it. You pick a man up by the throat and you drop them.
Yeah, my point is there is something to it. It's
I
like you've got to
that.
protect your opponent, and it always gets fucked up. I hate this move. This move sucks. You hear me?
Yes, I do.
So the match itself was like the highlight reel of a really good match. And then, yes, Reese carried Hoovy in his arms while Kidman was on his back and carried both of them to the back. Because of nothing else, he's huge. Also, looking at him here, I realized a satchel ass. Eric Bischoff comes out in a motorcycle.
There's no way that you can tell me that this was the better show with this absolute horse shit on it.
Did you notice the music, by the way? I don't know if anybody in our listening audience listens to the Mark Maron podcast.
Was it the same song?
It's the exact same song.
It was the Eric Bischoff song.
All I know is he comes out and Tony Schiavone, absolutely deadpan, just says, "Must be jerk on a bike week." Fucking, I howled. He fucking gets on the mic, and first he's wasting his time replying to Sean Waltman. Then he says, "You know, Vince, we've got this little pay-per-view coming up this Sunday. Right there in your backyard. And you know what? I'm going to be there. And if you show up, I challenge you to a fight."
I'm with you.
So if you don't know the story of this,
Oh, the story makes it great.
this led to a lawsuit
Shocking.
because the WWE side claimed WCW is promoting a pay-per-view based around a Vince McMahon fight that's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. They filed this lawsuit. This is the best part of the story. They filed this lawsuit, and Bischoff responds by immediately going on TV and saying, "It's not going to happen, okay? There is not going to be a match. Vince McMahon is not going to show up. If you're planning to buy the pay-per-view to see this fight, don't, because it's not going to happen." Jerry McDevitt then claims, well, it's wrestling. And when you say something's not going to happen, that means it is. That was his argument. Uh-huh. This was fucking in court forever.
In court. This actually happened.
This dude, I mean, Bischoff, he's all weird. He's all nervous. He's cutting this stupid promo, challenging Vince McMahon to a fight on one of his pay-per-views. This guy lost his mind. That's what this was. This guy temporarily lost his mind. This was the stupidest segment I've ever seen.
It was dumb. It was dumb.
And then they replayed it like 4 times.
I thought it was cool. See, it's all so stupid because the real life guy in charge on both shows is a heel on TV.
Right.
But I guess they thought he would be their fans' heel, so they would cheer him against the other guy. I don't know.
I'm sure it was cool for fans to see like Eric Bischoff and WCW and WWF shooting on each other, but it was so stupid. Eric was so gotten to here.
Yes.
Yes,
he
came
really
out
was.
and challenged Vince McMahon to a fight.
And you know what?
And then on the other channel, these shitheads are going to CNN headquarters, walking around the mall, taking fucking selfies.
The more I think about it, as lame as the DX stuff came off, they got to Eric.
They did.
accomplished their mission.
Yeah, he went on and said, "You knew I wouldn't be in the office, DX."
God, this was just so lame.
He was trolled.
Yeah, he was.
Do you know how lucky we are there was no Twitter during the Monday Night
Oh, I
Wars?
disagree.
Oh,
for this
my
very
God.
reason. Can you imagine Vince and Eric tweeting each other head to head?
That would've been
Well, the thing was, Vince wouldn't
missed
tweet.
out.
Eric would be tweeting. It'd be a one-sided tweet war. And then a bunch of geeks in WWF would be responding for Vince. God, this was lame.
This
was
where
so painfully lame.
this is where the show started to get really dull.
Alex Wright interrupted the Nitro girls and got taken away. Yuji Nagata versus Scott Norton. Yuji got this monster over for belly to belly. It didn't matter. Norton won with a shoulder breaker in about 2 minutes.
Yep.
Then the announcers talked for several minutes. In hindsight, I bet the announcers talked here for longer than that last match went. Or the next match.
Right.
Hugh Morris beat Jim Powers in 30 seconds with a power slam and a moonsault.
Yep.
Man, what a great show.
They were about to go to break when the Wolfpack is shown coming through the crowd. By which I mean it was just Kevin Nash and Conan.
Oh, God. Kevin Nash comes out. He makes a stupid Viagra joke. He challenges Hulk Hogan.
What he said was, he said Hogan's and Bischoff's chests are getting pumped up because they're taking Viagra. Then they're taking it wrong.
Then he said, you guys need to take more Viagra if you're going to handle me and Conan.
What does that even mean?
I don't have any idea.
I'm glad I didn't watch this pay-per-view.
All I know is this guy came out and he goes, I'm going to make this quick.
And then he didn't.
And then
He got cut
just
off.
Rambled and rambled and rambled and rambled. You know, I will give the guy credit for one thing. It's like a skinny guy that surrounds himself with fat guys. So he looks skinnier. Don't look at each other like that. Kevin Nash
Let's eat him.
surrounded himself with Scott Hall and Conan.
Right.
Two guys who actually were very cool. So that he would maybe appear a little more cool than he actually was. He's out here trying so hard to be cool. I have no idea what the fuck he's talking about. I have no idea what his point is. Anything he's saying right here. And he rambled on and on and on and on and finally got the hook.
Yeah, they cut him off with the music,
Yeah.
which he said into the mic. They're playing my song. I'm getting cut off. He said he wanted Hogan to admit Nash was bigger, younger, stronger, and sexier. Then he said he looked like Godzilla. Now, I love Godzilla, but I don't know how a guy who says he's sexy can also say he looks like Godzilla. That doesn't make sense to me.
He went on to say that, Hogan doesn't know what cool is. He doesn't listen to the hip hop.
He's not listening to Mac 10 is what he
Mac
said.
10, yeah. He doesn't say too sweet correctly.
Or for life.
Stupid.
This segment was so stupid. Do you hear me?
Ultimo Dragon versus Johnny Swinger.
Fucked up a top rope Frankenstein. You know how hard that is?
Well, for the first 2 minutes of Swinger's Nitro debut, I thought it looked good. Then Chavo came out, and then I wrote Dragon hit the worst top rope run of his life, and then hooked the Dragon Sleeper for the win. So Chavo congratulates Dragon. Eddie comes out, separates them, shoves Chavo. Chavo shoves Eddie down. Eddie is on his knees, offers Chavo a free shot, but Dragon jumps in from behind, puts him in the Dragon Sleeper, but Chavo breaks that up, and finally they all just leave.
Great show, Vinny.
Hey,
Great show here.
this is better than Raw.
No.
It sucked. It was better than Raw. You want to go watch the Hawk match again?
Do you want to listen to this Dusty Rhodes promo again?
I have no idea what on earth Dusty Rhodes is talking
Did
about here.
anybody remember that this guy was in the NWO? Dusty Rhodes randomly
I'm not sure
shows
he
up.
did based on what he said.
He was wearing a button-up shirt with no collar. Okay? One of those gimmicks. And the top button was buttoned, but his head is really large. It looked like his head was going to pop.
This guy starts talking about the Wolf Pack.
Yeah.
Like they're a bunch of dogs.
The wolf pack.
The Wolf Pack.
If you will, baby.
Talking about Hogan. Like, if you just tuned into this Nitro for the first time, you'd be sure that Hogan's a babyface. Everybody's talking about him.
Yeah.
They're all challenging him. He's not there.
Right.
Going on and on and on. Then he's talking about how we all know Scott Hall's got personal problems. I'm like, we do? Because
do
as a
now.
television viewer, I don't know what the fuck's going on with Scott Hall. He's just never on TV. Now he apparently has personal problems. What's going on here?
The dream just exposed Scott Hall.
He guarantees that he's going to be at the pay-per-view. And all I could think was, you know what a big problem in pro wrestling is? It's when you work for a company and you fly to a new town, you write a script, you have everybody go out there and do it, you're backstage, and then you go to the next town, you do it all again, and you never watch your own show. I watch this show every week as a fan. I have no idea what's going on. I wrote a book about it. I have no idea what's going on. They just do a bunch of shit. They presume that we know everything. But if you're watching the show, you don't know anything. What was this?
So he's talking about Nash getting in Hogan's ugly face. So I think, okay, he's with the Wolfpack. He buries them for firing 6. He takes credit for Scott Hall getting a job and being the coolest dude on the planet. Defends Scott Hall's personal problems. Then he says Randy Savage needs to stop bitching. So the guy who we forgot is in the NWO is doing a very poor job of sticking up for the NWO. And then he eventually repeated everything and he left. I have no idea what the hell he was talking about. Goldberg versus Len Denton.
I couldn't believe it.
Mike Tenay was sure to note that Len Denton was quite an accomplished grappler.
He was an accomplished grappler.
Do
Do you know he once pinned me with a loaded boot?
They don't get no more accomplished when it comes to grappling than Len Denton.
Yep. He didn't load his boot here.
No, he hit one jawbreaker and then he got punched and speared and jackhammered and pinned.
Do you know that this week I saw Len Denton at Cauliflower Alley?
Oh yeah, how's he doing?
You're doing great. I wish I would have seen this match first because I would have told him if you'd only have loaded the boot,
Right.
you could have changed history.
He could have ended the streak.
You should have known to load the boot before the match. Sad.
Bring it up next year.
I will.
Mean Gene brings J.J. Dillon and Raven out for a promo.
Oh, God. JJ's all over this show.
Dillon talks about the fan who's been attacking Raven repeatedly, including on MTV. Says he does not like Raven, but Raven and his attorneys have a point when they say they have put him in an unsafe working environment and a possible breach of contract. Raven confirms this. So Dillon says WCW will be paying for 4 riot control officers to protect Raven. Gene is appalled by this. How dare we protect our asset rather than force him to fight on his own?
You know, when we were starting to do these retro reviews and we just praised Gene Okerlund to high heaven, all these people are like, no, Gene sucked. He just absolutely sucked. And it's like, no, he was great. No, he sucked. Now I'm figuring it out. They're remembering near the end of the war. At the beginning of the war, Gene was great. But you know what? Gene is grating on me on these segments now in 98. He don't care, clearly.
I think Gene's out there to get Gene over.
Someone needs to attack Gene and you think twice about being upset about these
Yeah.
security guys.
So Raven calls out the flock. He declares he's going to find out who the attacker is and get his revenge. Then he announces he will face DDP one more time in a Bowery death match.
Which sounded like Punjabi prison with metal instead of wood.
Kinda.
There's a cage inside a cage.
There's a cage with a roof on it,
Yep.
and it's a last man standing match inside this cage with a roof. Then he says there has been strife between Saturn and Hammer, and Saturn had lost the fight. They call out Saturn to defend himself. So Saturn comes out, but before he can say anything, Kidman congratulates Hammer on his win, but says it was a loser leaves the flock match, and you are the biggest loser here, and they all kick his ass.
So exactly like I asked last week. If you don't want Hammer there, why didn't you just fire him? Why'd you do this stupid match?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Raven declares Saturn is his enforcer and will stay by his side.
And then it got confusing.
Well, I'll say it did. Jerry Lynn runs out and attacks
This
Saturn.
show is so stupid. This show sucks.
Jerry Flynn. I must correct myself.
Not Lynn, no.
No, I don't know if that would have mattered.
See, they were gonna do a Jerry Flynn match, but I don't know if they were short on time or what, but they sent this idiot out in the middle of an angle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He jumps in the
Jerry
ring
Flynn
with the flock all around
starts
him.
beating up Saturn with Raven around him, with the flock around him, with 4 riot security guys all around him who let him go in there and attack Saturn and stand back.
They're there to protect Raven, not
I
Saturn.
guess.
And the funny thing, this isn't the worst thing that Saturn was involved with tonight.
So Saturn faces Jerry Flynn. It lasted officially just long enough for Larry Zbyszko, just like us, to say, I'm totally confused.
This promotion sucks.
Saturn
This
got the
show
win.
sucked.
Saturn got the win with the DVD. I went back and checked. I think the longest match in the show had been 5 minutes, and everything else was 2 minutes or less.
This show sucked.
Don't get me wrong. The show was shit. This was a terrible show as well. Fit Finley versus Rage. Fit Finley versus me watching the show, I guess. Thank God for Fit Finley.
Yeah.
Watching him beat these muscle heads up. Oh, it's great. So they go to cheat. Booker T runs out and attacks Chaos. Finley pins Rage with a tombstone. Benoit runs out and attacks Booker. Dylan is there. He declares he is sick of Booker and Benoit interfering in matches and books them against each other tonight, and there must be a winner.
Winner gets Finlay at Slamboree.
Winner gets Finley.
That made me happy, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Nitro Party clips from a YMCA in Tennessee. The highlight was the young man doing Alex Wright's dance. Lenny Lane versus DDP. Paige deserves to be in the Hall of Fame just for having a good match with Lenny Lane.
That's true.
I didn't think it was possible. They went back and forth the whole time. Paige set him on the top rope and then brought him down with a diamond cutter for the win.
My favorite part is after the match. Raven comes out on the ramp after DDP challenges him.
I must cut you off there. What DDP said was, Raven, I'm going to bang you.
He did.
That's a quote.
At Slamboree.
That's Lamboree.
Raven came out. He thought about it.
Looking to get banged, I guess.
He looked in the ring. He's got his 4 right patrol guys or whatever.
The big Daft Punk helmets on.
Yep. And he looks at the ring and he decides, nope, not going to do it. He turns around and he starts leaving. The first right squad guy turns. The second right squad guy turns. The third right squad guy turns. The fourth guy is daydreaming. He's looking around. Look at all these fucking people here.
Frank!
I can't believe it.
Frank!
And all of a
we gotta
sudden,
go.
he goes, shit. Turns around, follows him to the back. This show sucks.
The NWO Black and White came out for a promo. It's Hulk Hogan, Bischoff, Vincent, the Disciple, and Crush.
Oh,
Yeah, what a crew.
This is what Hogan is left with now. Remember how cool the NWO was when they started?
no, I have no memory of it now.
So Hogan plugs his shitty movies. He's
The Three Ninjas.
Three Ninjas and Devil's Island, whatever it was. So Hall and Nash have been trying to ride his coattails to the top. He accepts Randy Savage's challenge and then vows in 5 hours I'm going to be back on the movie set in Vancouver. He made fun of Nash's gray hair and skinny legs. Always great when you have a guy trying to get cheered and point out his actual flaws.
These guys on the mic burying each other was so... It was the worst TV imaginable. Just the worst.
I laughed.
It was so stupid.
It was a horrible way to build a wrestling match or a heat in a program, but it made me laugh when Nash comes out. Let's see. He makes fun of Hogan's sunglasses. Hogan makes fun of Nash's thong. Nash asks, why are you checking me out? Hogan is caught totally off guard. And all he can come up with is, you're just too sweet.
Yeah.
To which Nash must take a step back and admit, I am sexy. I laughed. I don't feel bad about it. I laughed at that.
Stupid. This show absolutely sucks.
So they get back on track. Hogan demands Nash apologize for wearing black and red. Apologize. Okay. It wasn't good. I can't even get through it anymore. He apologized. He wants Nash to apologize for confusing Conan and Kurt Hennig. Nash steps forward. Hogan steps back and pulls Vincent and Crush in front of him. Nash refuses to apologize, so he's going to go through these stooges to get to Hogan. Nash says, I brought a big gun to this gunfight. And out comes the Giant,
Oh my
who
god.
is back in the NWO.
Oh my god. When he came out, I was so done with this show.
When we started this retro review crap, why did we not keep there should be a tally on the wall of Giant turns.
Well, we know there's been 34 in his career, so this had to be at least the 8th one.
He started out in the Dungeon of Doom.
Yes.
He was, we're down here. He was
You'll
in the Dungeon
never
of Doom.
remember, dude.
He was feuding with the Horsemen. He was feuding with the NWO. He joined the NWO. He left the NWO. Now he has joined them again. It's been 3 years.
That's 6.
Sucks. This sucks.
That's 6?
Vinny, this show sucks.
So they lay out Nash. They're about to, did they? I think they were.
They spray painted
They
him.
spray painted him.
Yep.
They're about to chokeslam him to death when out runs like Conan, Dusty, and Savage, and they back off. The Giant is afraid of Randy Savage, Dusty Rhodes, and Conan?
Yep.
I didn't buy that. I did not buy that.
I didn't buy anything on this whole show. This show was terrible.
Mean Gene brings Chris Jericho out for a promo.
This was good.
No, hold on. Chris Jericho was awesome.
Yes.
Here, okay? He had Hoovie's mask, Ikea's sarong, the knee of Rey Mysterio, his Dean Malenko poster. He's just on fire. I'm thinking, man, what a great segment. It really hit me. Well, it's so obvious why he left. He went to WWF because they weren't doing a goddamn thing with him and he was so talented.
Yeah.
But you know what? They found a way to fuck this up. God bless him, but his name is Joe Malenko. Can someone explain to me what Joe Malenko said? I couldn't understand Kevin Nash. I really couldn't understand Joe Malenko.
Dean Malenko's charisma eclipsed that of Joe.
Dean Malenko was Ric Flair next to poor Joe Malenko. What the fuck did he say about the Energizer Bunny?
Joe comes out. Jericho says he has no problem with Joe, calls him Shooter. Joe calls Jericho the Energizer Bunny of poor taste. Says Jericho is That's what he said.
What are you looking at me for? I have no clue.
He said Jericho had disrespected the entire family. Back in his day, retired wrestlers got respect from younger guys. Jericho said this is all a misunderstanding. He had nothing against the Malenkos. Offered to let Joe take the portrait of Dean and leave. And he jumped Joe from behind and broke the portrait over his head, and nobody cared.
Dude, he hit him with the leg of Rey Mysterio.
Yes.
I wrote here, Jericho hits him with the leg and goes to work. And no sooner do I write that than he just stopped hitting him. And Joe just kind of regained his composure. And then they went to commercial.
He beat him so badly with a mannequin leg and a piece of plexiglass.
This segment, this show. And do you think it got better when Glacier appeared?
Absolutely not.
Let's talk about Glacier.
Let me talk about Glacier's promo and then the match.
Oh, the promo.
I want to talk about them separately.
Well, we're gonna. Because they're two very separate things.
They are. So Glacier has pre-recorded comments from earlier this afternoon. And Glacier says, I debuted a lot of hype. And I lived up to that hype. And I...
Hold on. Is this Southern? Is that what you're doing?
I'm trying
This
to
is
do
Bullet
terrible.
Bob.
It's the same thing. All right, I'll stop. Clearly it's throwing you off your game.
It's very much throwing me off the game.
No, please
here.
continue.
So he says he's lived up to the hype of his debut. And best of all, he invented the cryonic kick.
Right.
Yeah.
The super kick.
Now there were imitators ripping off his move. But it was his move. And if you used it, he was going to take you out.
He ends this promo. Let me just recap very quickly. One of the wrestlers came on TV and said, I've got a move. It's my move. You fuckers who are using my move, I'm going to take you out. The wrestler said this.
Yeah.
They go back to the announcers and they bury this guy.
Yes, they should.
It's a sidekick. Everybody does
People
it.
doing sidekicks for 20 years, dude.
I was like, oh my God. I didn't think it could get worse. I was wrong.
Yes, you were.
Now, Brian, as you will recall...
Would I rather watch Raw 3 times and watch this segment again? Yes. Did you have another question?
When we began this show, you and I disagreed about which of these shows was worse. I said Raw was worse, and I made my case. You said Nitro was worse. We're in the middle of the case now. As someone who still believes Raw was worse, I will concede this match was so much worse than anything on Raw.
Thank you.
This was so much worse than that Hawk match that had me throwing things. Between this match, between the Hawk match and a couple others on Raw, and between the Wrestling Classic, do you realize how much terrible wrestling we've watched in like the past 5 days?
I'm quite aware of it.
I don't think I've ever seen
You haven't even watched Raw yet.
so many negative star matches from so many different shows in such a short period of time.
Just you wait.
Sick Boy may have surpassed Vladimir Pietrov as the worst wrestler I've ever seen as far as being allegedly a name guy. Does he know? Did anyone clue him in that when you were in the corner and the opponent is throwing his fists and feet at you to simulate kicks and punches, you should pretend they hurt or acknowledge them at all? He just is there.
Well, I don't think they worked on a lot of selling there at the power plant.
So at some point, he got himself, as best I can tell, stuck upside down on the ropes. He comes down. Glacier throws a kick. It misses.
Badly.
By feet. Sick Boy sells it anyway. And in the process, tackles the ref and takes him down. Meanwhile, Glacier says, oh shit, I missed that kick. I better throw it again. This time he kicks him as hard as he can in the back after Sick Boy's already started to go down.
And hit him.
So, Glacier hits his cryonic kick. He makes a cover. There is no ref. The ref is down. Saturn hits the ring. Super kicks Glacier, puts Sick Boy on top, and leaves. The ref turns to count one.
Hold on. The ref, you say? You mean Nick Patrick?
Yep. Nicholas Patrick, yes.
Are you telling me, or are you about to tell me, that he totally fucks up?
Somebody fucked up. I'm not sure who.
Yeah,
It may have been him. I can't say it was him or not.
Well, all I know is he counted the pin even though the guy kicked out.
It's true.
And then the guy rang the bell.
Who shouldn't have.
And then they went to the finish, and he counted the pin again, and the guy rang the bell again.
Right.
Yes.
And just for the record, Saturn's cryonic kick, way better than Glacier's.
Yeah. Legitimately one of the very worst matches I've ever seen. Worse than anything on that horrible Raw I just reviewed. Worse than anything we've seen so far in the Wrestling Classic.
Why did the timekeeper ring the bell?
Because the referee counted the pin.
But the ref didn't signal for
It
the bell.
doesn't matter. It's Pavlovian. You see the guy hit the fucking mat 3 times, you ring the bell.
But the guy kicked out.
It doesn't matter. Nick Patrick hit the mat 3 times.
There was incompetency all through this match.
This sucked so bad.
It was horrible.
This show was the worst show on this particular Monday night.
Lex Luger comes out for a promo.
Now, I will say the next 2 segments were good.
Yes, sir.
Lex cut a very, very good babyface promo.
He says, I just watched my buddy Rick Steiner go into surgery this afternoon. I'm disgusted at Scott Steiner. I'm disgusted at Brian Adams for their attack on this man last week. I've wrestled top guys. I've wrestled bottom guys. I've wrestled everyone in between, and I never complain. But I'm demanding a match right now. At Slamboree, I want Scott Steiner, or I want Brian Adams, or I want them both. And he left.
It was great.
It was great.
Now, let me tell you how bad this show was and why it was much worse than Raw. On a wrestling show, they build in advance a match between 2 men with consequences. They proceeded to deliver that match with a clean finish on a wrestling show. And I was gobsmacked. I could not believe that Booker and Benoit got 6 minutes with a clean finish. I couldn't believe it. That's how bad this show has fallen.
All I know is Benoit took 80% of this match and then won clean with his finish.
Yeah.
What a ass-kicking Booker T took here.
Can you imagine? Now he's going to get a championship match.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fair enough.
I couldn't believe I was watching Nitro all of a sudden.
Great match.
It was great.
I know this is news. This is a great match. Best thing we watched on this particular Monday night, for sure.
And then back to reality,
Back to reality.
where Michael Buffer, maybe this is what sent me over the edge.
That set me off.
Michael Buffer, this fucking gimmick. He claimed that we may have just witnessed the greatest WCW Monday Nitro in history.
Where does he live?
Vinny.
Point me to his house.
No.
Yeah, he said that. And as I was going off on him for that, he then said, as Hulk Hogan's coming to the ring, he says, this is the man who believes that when you're NWO, you're NWO forever. For life was too much for this idiot to keep track of.
This is awesome. He's so great.
So they're doing this match. It's slow. It's 2 beat-up old men having a wrestling match.
Because who could possibly care?
Then it occurs to me, this is the go-home segment to the go-home show for Slamboree. I have no idea what the main event is. None. And I'm going through, is Outsiders versus Sting and Giant main event? Is Paige and Raven in the cage the main event? Is Hogan have a title match I don't know about? So Hogan misses the big leg.
He reminded me.
Yeah, thank
Go
God they
ahead.
wrapped it up.
Savage goes up top. Disciple shoves him down. Bret Hart drills Savage with the belt. Then I remembered Bret's wrestling Savage. Maybe that's the main event. So Hogan gets the pin. Nash runs down. He has cleaned the spray paint off his back.
Sprinting to the ring.
Can't sell the spray paint for an hour. Nash sprints down. Piper's there all of a sudden. Roddy Piper. He declares, no, I will not let that pinfall stand. Randy Savage is the winner via DQ. Then he says, I will be the special ref for the Bret Hart-Randy Savage match.
Where the hell was this idiot for the rest of this show?
Was he running late? I mean, is he technically the commissioner?
Something.
You're asking us?
Well,
They
you
don't
watch
know.
it just as much as I do.
I don't know what's going on.
So let's see. He lets both of them know that as the referee, he will not be enforcing the rules. Sounds like a great ref.
He just rambled. He's talking about the A&E special.
What the hell was that about?
It was the Secrets of Pro Wrestling revealed. Yeah.
Did that come out about this time?
And he
Okay.
brings it up and he goes, I was brought up in the old school. So you're a shooter.
Yeah, then why bring it
Okay.
up?
Yeah, why'd you bring this up, you moron?
Dumb.
And then I'm hating the show like I never hated a show before. And they cut in the middle of this. There's just people everywhere. The Giant's there. Piper, Hogan, Savage, Nash, bodies. I could not take anymore. Like, it's got to end right now. But no, they cut to a shot of Sting in the rafters.
Yep.
Standing there.
Standing there.
He was supposed to tag.
In the rafters.
He was supposed to tag with the Giant.
That's what they said. They said he and the Giant were going to team together to challenge for the WCW Tag Team titles. I had 1,000 thoughts all at once. My first thought was, what? Since when? Did they build this up? Have I completely forgotten this?
They've announced it on prior
Yeah,
shows.
it was on. They announced.
Did they shoot an angle?
No.
Did they do anything to build
Scott
this
Hall
match
has
up?
haven't seen in months. They've talked to each other.
Sting is up there, and he's looking down with disappointment.
Yes.
And I'm just like,
As were we.
this fucking guy has been absolutely slaughtered. He has been eviscerated. He has been
Emasculated.
castrated and
Yes.
emasculated. And they fucked him over again with this angle. Because they had to turn the Giant. And you know who looks like an absolute fucking idiot is Sting. Again.
Yep.
The guy sitting in the rafters by himself looks like an idiot. Good to know.
This show sucks. This show sucked. It was way worse than Raw.
No.
I stand by that till my
Neither of us is willing to deal with this
dying
debate.
day.
Vinny has found a
God,
hill
this
to
was
die on.
terrible.
I am dying on this hill. It's better than watching the show. I'd rather
You know
die on a
what?
hill.
We agree, so you lose.
Now, before we go, I did look up. Here is the spoiler-free card for Slamboree, bottom to the top. Finlay versus Benoit in the opener.
In the opener.
Luger versus Steiner or Adams. The Cruiserweight Battle Royal with the winner getting a shot at Jericho's title on that show.
Forgot about that. We didn't even mention that. Jericho's in the ring, and JJ comes out, and he goes,
You were so obsessed with Joe Malenko.
yeah. Jericho goes, I'm going to retire this Cruiserweight title because I got no challengers. And JJ comes out and says, well, funny you should mention that. At Slamboree this Sunday, we are going to do a 15-man Cruiserweight Battle Royal. And the winner of this match is going to face you for that Cruiserweight title on the pay-per-view Sunday. And at first, Jericho is appalled. He can't believe it. But then he pauses and he goes, so you're telling me that 15 men are going to beat the shit out of each other, and then the man who survives, I get to wrestle the same night? Great!
So I like those odds, he
He's
says.
so excited. I'm like, he's the heel. JJ's a babyface.
Yes.
The heel's pointing out how stupid the babyface's decision was,
Yeah.
and how one-sided in his favor it is.
Yeah.
This show is so fucking horrible.
So that was the third match in the show, the Cruiserweight Battle Royal and the title shot. DDP and Raven in the Bowery Death Match. Bonus match, Eddie Guerrero versus Ultimo Dragon. Another bonus match, Goldberg and Saturn. Savage and Hart. And, in the main event, Sting and the Giant versus the Outsiders.
God.
That happened. That was an actual show.
I hate this promotion. I hope they go out
I
of
will
business.
say this. If you look at that card and it makes you think less of this Nitro, that's fair.
There you go, everybody.
What awful shows we watched.
Terrible.
We disagree they were both terrible.
Terrible, terrible, terrible. Well, I got one thing to say before we go. Wednesday is Give Big Day in Seattle, And Whale Scout is participating. So if you have a little bit of spare cash lying around, if you go to my Twitter at Brian Alvarez, I can't believe I'm saying this after just thrashing that Nitro. I'm trying so hard not to swear in this plug.
I see.
I'm just full of fury as I'm trying to plug this. If you go to my Twitter at Brian Alvarez, there's a link to the page. It's givebigseattle.org/whale-scout. And whatever you donate will be matched up to $3,000.
Wow.
So if you donate $100, $200 goes to Whale Scout. So that is tomorrow only, Wednesday, May 10th. Give big. We appreciate anything that you give. Just a quick note that Whitney and myself and everybody in Whale Scout, it is 1,000% voluntary. Nobody gets paid. So anything that you donate is going straight to habitat restoration. Local parks. I can say one thing here. I just got to get this off my chest. So they did a habitat restoration at a park in Seattle. They're going around, they're cleaning up the park. I'm there with the baby, babysitting. It's time for the baby to take a nap. So I put the baby on me, and she goes to sleep. And so I'm walking around the park for an hour while the baby sleeps. Do you know where this is going, Craig?
I think so.
I fucking am walking around this park, and there's condoms,
Yep.
used, needles, all fucking over. Not like out in the woods, just like we're sitting there, I'm looking at the water, I'm like, man, this place is beautiful. I didn't even notice. And then, like, I came by a little bit later and I'm looking around, and then I kind of looked down, and on the fucking railing that I was leaning on is a fucking condom. Used. And I'm like, I don't even want to let the baby down anymore in this park. Like, stay up here with me. I was so appalled. But you know what? They went around and they had the big, the calipers are like 10 feet long.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to get too close.
No.
They had the hazmat bag or whatever. And they're going around cleaning up the park. So if you want to know what your money's going to, it's park cleanups for shit like that. I was so fucking appalled when I saw that. So anyway, they do a lot of that kind of work. So if you want to help, the givebigseattle.org, and it's not just Whale Scout, there's a million different nonprofits as well, so head up there and check those out. Tax deductible donation will be matched, so head up there, givebigseattle.org, linked up on my Twitter at Brian Alvarez. So that's it, and we'll be back on Thursday with more, the Granny Show, and that is it. We'll talk to you again after a while.
Good night.
Bye.